Hey all, so I've got some news to share. I recently started working for Kabam. There is a lot to talk about there, I know. So I'm going to try and go over some of the main questions I imagine you have. What exactly is my job? I am a champion designer. So this means that I am assigned a character every few months and tasked with creating their kit for the game. I decide what their core mechanics will be, the triggers, how it comes together, and I'm responsible for coding them so that all of those ideas actually make it into the game. It's a very collaborative process, so there's lots of input from the rest of the team along the way, but as you probably already know by now, each character is the primary responsibility of a single designer, and that is the bulk of my work. So I started working for Kabam in July, and for those of you who are curious, I applied sometime in late April, pretty much entirely on a whim. It wasn't really on my radar at all before earlier that month when Kabam Zero was in one of my streams and kind of teasingly suggested that I apply. And I thought about it some more. I'd really been enjoying what was going on with my channel, streaming more, and to be honest, my previous career had been hit pretty hard by COVID, so I decided to give it a shot, and here we are. I would have loved to talk about this earlier, but the short answer to this one is just that we had to work out the legal implications. I felt like I was ready, kind of settled in enough to announce in late July, but because I am the first full employee who regularly streams the game, and therefore I'm the first person who represents, in some real but small way, the company and by extension Disney, since this is a Marvel property, we had to wait on the lawyers to look things over and make sure that there weren't any issues that we might have missed. I do want to say right away that I am not under any orders to always be positive about the game or anything like that, which should be clear to anyone who watches my channel regularly. I do have to abide by my non-disclosure agreements, and I'm not allowed to be a toxic jerk because Disney in particular really does not appreciate that, but I like to think that's what I've been doing anyway, so I don't think that anything should really change here. On a similar note, if you're wondering why I'm not being more critical, you can always call me a shill. I can handle it. But the honest truth is just that working on this game makes it easy to be optimistic about this game. I see what's in store, I see the improvements on the horizon, I see the intent behind things that may not have landed perfectly, and most importantly, I see how much everyone I work with badly wants for this to be a fun, vibrant game for a long time to come. Nobody here is just phoning it in for a paycheck. Especially within my team, the characters we create are kind of like our children in a sense. And we really want them to be successful. We want you to enjoy using them, right? That is very important to us, and we care deeply. And so seeing all of that gives me quite a bit of hope. I think I've always been more willing to hope than perhaps the average bear, but I really do have good reason for it now. But I do want to say flat out, this does not mean you are not allowed to complain on my channel or in my streams. I have never really tolerated toxicity, so if you want to come on and tell me that I'm evil or the company is evil, I'm probably going to time you out. I'm going to be completely honest. But I don't plan to enforce my optimism on others. I would love to provide clarity to help people see the bright side that I'm seeing. But I don't want to dismiss your concerns or invalidate them or stop you from raising them. There's probably a maximum amount of time in any stream that we'll talk about a specific thing, but that's always been true, right? Just because I now work for the company doesn't mean that it's going to be any more fun to wallow on specific things, but don't feel like you can't bring something up. This has always been a discussion channel, and I want to keep that going. Along that same vein, though, I am a champion designer. Only a champion designer, and I am the most junior one on the team. I am not in charge of game modes. I'm not in charge of monetization. I'm not in charge of who gets added to the game. I'm not in charge of how the servers run or any of a number of other issues that I just won't be able to help you with. So please, as much as possible, let's try to treat this pretty much as we have. The goal of my channel is to help people better understand and more deeply enjoy the game. And now I have some extra insight to help with that. That is my goal here, so let's try to stick to that. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you who my first champion is. I will say that they're coming to the contest in January. You may remember earlier I said every few months and be surprised that that's so far away if I started in July, but that's basically because it takes time to onboard and learn the ins and outs of the company and the process and all that. But I have, with some of that time, also started working on an update to an older character that will hopefully be out before too long as well. That's not really set in stone yet, but I will let y'all know when that does happen. So, on a more typical interview question note, I will just say probably the biggest thing that surprised me about the job is that because we code the champions, we're also the ones responsible for bug fixing before and after release. Despite what you may have heard claimed, we do playtest as much as we can. It's honestly a huge part of the job. But, there are only so many of us. If we put a month of nothing but playtesting into something, that's not going to be as much as the community gets out of the first hour of something being released. It's just a numbers game. So we do playtest. We will catch everything we can and fix what we can before it goes out. But some things are going to get through, and so fixing issues as they pop up will always be a major piece of what I do. Like I said, that did surprise me coming out of the community, but I really do think this is the only way it would work. If we designed characters without being responsible for their implementation, we'd probably be coming up with impossible or impractical ideas all the time. And then after we have made things work, we have to be the ones to make changes, or we'd be walking someone else through the way we did things, and it would just be a massive waste of time. But all in all, this has been an absolutely amazing job. I am so happy here. It lets me be creative in a way that reminds me of music, which, as many of you know, was my first career. It really scratches that itch. It's so much fun. And it, lets me spend time playing and talking about video games and superheroes, both with the team and with all of y'all. So I look forward to continuing what I'm doing here. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and take care.